So, welcome, gentlemen, to the new place, right? The new Connected by Water, right? And we're here today on Connected by Water, presented by Joey Accardi, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and fueled by Papa's Pilar rum. I'm with my good pals, right?
Cheers.
Captain George Gozdz, Ozzy Delgado, right?
Cheers.
What's up, gentlemen?
Oh, thank you for having us. Glad we can get down here.
You kidding me? I'm honored to have you.
Yeah. Like
Right.
you said, it's been a while.
Honored to call you guys buddies.
Yeah.
First season when you were on the show, that was
First season. Yeah,
going
season
into
one.
season 4, so it's been a minute.
Wow.
Season 4. Is season 4 just, are you recording season 4 now, or is it out?
2022 will be season 4, so we're starting production.
Yeah,
For
starting
season.
production.
Yeah.
And it's nice, and you're on the outdoor
Outdoor channel? Yep.
which is great, right? And we were just talking about that before the show, where that's where I see it now. I used to just watch it on YouTube all the time.
Yep.
But now it's on the outdoor channel, which is if you got a Samsung TV, which a lot of people do. That's how I watch it, at least on the Samsung Plus channels, which are great.
Yeah.
And it's just the show. Every time I show someone your program, everyone always says the same thing. It's like, man, the production value of that show is just phenomenal, which is true. Like it's really outstanding, and the work that the guys are doing, the colorblind and all those guys do is just great. You know what I mean? Obviously, you're the toppest of notchest of hosts, I think. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Better than anyone in the business. And it really, I do mean that. I'm not just saying that because we're friends. It is the truth. Like, and every time anybody brings you up, like, the first word out of my mouth is, like, pro. George is a pro. For sure. I mean, without a doubt. So,
I appreciate that.
You do it really well.
Yeah,
man.
we're trying, and I'm blessed to be in the situation that I'm at. Colorblind Media does an amazing job, and I feel like so often I just show up and fish and just do what I do, and they make it look good.
Yeah, well, that's what surrounding yourself by talent means,
Yeah.
where you have the ability to do that, and that's a great thing. you know? Once you find good people, you know what I mean?
That's it. And this whole community is small, and you make these connections with you and Ozzy, and it just you make these friendships, and they last. And they just continue to develop into new things and new programs, and just it's a neat process. I never thought 15 years ago I'd be where I'm at today, and again, blessed, fortunate to be here.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great little world that we operate in. It really is. It's just like, it's a find. You know what I mean? To like find that niche, and you're like, man, this is really, really just a cool space. You know what I mean? And then like you could just work it in so many different ways, and that's really what Connected by Water, the mindset of Connected by Water, is all about to us. Is that whole network of people and how we're all connected and how we all like operate, like for better or for worse sometimes. But it's still there. It's almost like one living, breathing family. You know what I mean? For love or for hate. So
Yeah.
So Ozzy, right? Pacific Fins, Guatemala.
Yes, sir.
Premier location in Guatemala, like off the charts hospitality, off the charts fishing. And you're back. You both have been on the show independently, and it's like kind of cool to have you here together, because there's a few things I wanted to talk to you guys about today. One being, we don't like to beat COVID to death on the show, because it's like, who wants to hear about that all the time, right? But for your circumstance, it really, really kind of hit home, because for traveling and destinations and stuff like that, that really, really took a hit on how that affected you guys.
Yeah, I mean, rewinding back to March 2020. I mean, me and Niels Erickson we got together and we just spoke, and we're like, what are we gonna do? I mean, we're gonna have to lay off some people, and the last thing we wanted to do, because our guys are like family. You work with them so many years, and they take they take care of us, they take care of the clients, and it got to the point that it was scary. I mean, to be honest, I mean, just like anywhere else. I mean, one thing, I mean, here in the States, at least you could at least go out camping, do something, but there's nobody traveling internationally, not just Guatemala, but around the world. And I mean, we saw it pretty bad for months. I mean, but thank God, once Guatemala opened up around like October 18th, I believe it was, 2020. we started gradually, little by little, getting clients in. Once we got into the November time frame, it started getting better and better, and then we had the Invitational. I mean, we didn't think we were going to have a successful Guatemala Billfish Invitational, and people were saying, Ozzy, how the heck did that happen? I mean, you guys made it happen. And he goes, yeah, it's not just us. I mean, we want to thank our clients, for being a part of that. In the word, I don't know if it's to take a risk, but everybody just needed to go somewhere. I mean, they were just inside of home all those months, and just being in, like, saying jail. Everybody wanted to go do something. And we had a successful tournament. We had a great time. And once that finished, January came around, and it was like boom, boom, boom. And now it has been, thank God, it's been just crazy busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm sure that was, great now you filmed, like, how many episodes? 2 or 3 down there?
God, I've done a couple 2-part series. I think it's all 3 years. All 3 years of Unfathomed. Every season we've done a show down there.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I think one of the cool things is we talk about bringing people back, and you did a travel trip down there, right? So take me through that. Like, how was that? I mean, because when I saw that, first of all, I had 2 reactions. Oh man, that's killer, right? And 2, like, oh man, how am I not on that trip?
Yeah.
So
I was actually talking to a client today about that trip, and it's probably one of the most memorable, just insane trips I've ever been on in my life. There was so much happening, so much going on, that I knew when I was even in the situation, I couldn't take it all in. But it was one of those things that you experience and you go home and you digest it all, and you're like, wow. And I was looking at a picture at the base of one of the Mayan ruins that we took after dark. We were granted special access to the national park where the Mayan ruins are. We were given a government archaeologist to follow us and to educate us throughout the process. And
really?
Yeah, so it was another level.
That's cool.
And you're standing at the foot of a pyramid that's 2,000 years old, and you're there after dark, and we had an authentic Mayan shaman come in and do a fire ceremony. And at first I was like, oh, this seems like something that'd be cheesy. Yeah. It was probably the coolest thing I ever did.
Really?
I love Guatemala. Not only the fishing is incredible. I tell people this all the time. Fishing is amazing, but the culture and the history there and the people, that's what keeps bringing me back.
Yeah, the people are great.
Yeah, and to think that, I mean, you see these temples and you see that this thing has survived 2,000 years, and to think of the people that, what it was at one point and where it is today, you could spend weeks going through that country and just exploring and discovering new things. We have plans of going back. I have a hosted trip coming up in November that we can talk about, but on the backside of that, I have plans to bring my kids down. And they have an inland lake there, a beautiful inland lake. What's the name of it?
Lake Atitlan.
Oh,
yeah,
what?
That one.
Correct. Yeah, it's correct. Lake Atitlan. That's what it's called.
You got to have a Spanish tongue.
There's a thing to that, right? There's a way to say that. Yeah. Wow.
But it's another part of the country. It's something that's beautiful that I haven't seen. So there's every time I go back,
fish in that lake?
I'm sure there is.
There is fish in that lake. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, but like anything else, it's fresh water. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of fish?
Bass, stuff like that. Yeah.
Like
I mean, I've never fished it myself.
Yeah.
Because we're always so busy with the whole saltwater deal.
Right.
But from what I hear, it's you get some pretty big fish there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. The place.
Anytime anyone mentions lake to me, I gotta ask that question. Any fish in that thing?
There's gonna be fish in it. If it's Guatemala, there's gonna be fish.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's just one of those places. It's almost like I've been there, I think 6 or 7 times now. It's almost like a second home. It feels like. Honestly, there's not many places that I say like, whoa, when I retire, I'd want to have a little place of my own there. But Guatemala is one of those places that I could see myself, because the people are so appreciative. That's the thing. Like, they appreciate you being there. Mm-hmm. People say, well, I've always felt safe. There's never been a moment that I've been there. I've gone from one end of the country to the other. I brought my girlfriend. I was extremely comfortable, never any uneasiness. Bringing my kids, if that tells you anything. Mm-hmm. The fishing is incredible. The people are incredible. It's just, the country has so much to offer.
Yeah.
I'm so fortunate that I met Ozzy and have been able to do what we've done together.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we're looking forward to going down there because I guess for the first time we're going to announce that for the Invitational, we will be present.
We got to do a toast to that. There you go.
Yeah.
So that'd be awesome. Yes.
So which we're really, really looking forward to that. So
this Guatemala Billfish Invitational, it would be my third season, I think, of coming for the Invitational.
I think more than that.
Yeah, third or fourth. Every year they have this Guatemala Billfish Invitational, and it's a tournament. Helps bring awareness to the bill fishery there, and it's just a group of like people that get together and just have an amazing time. It's just I'm looking forward to you being there and experiencing it.
And it's more than just billfish too, because you were telling me before we got on, there's like 30-something roosters in.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean,
in a day or something like
correct.
that.
So throughout the years, for the past couple of years, we've been doing a little bit of our, research to see what other species, because, the guys are, everybody down the dock, any captain, any crew, basically a program for billfish. That's what, what Guatemala is known for, sailfish capital of the world on the Pacific side.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the past couple of years, I've gone down there right after ICAST, now that we mentioned ICAST, and done a little research, gone after roosterfish, gone after, Cabera snapper, you name it, other species, and there's a lot. I mean, I remember our best day on roosters was 33 releases in one day. I mean, it was just crazy. I mean, and you're stone throw away from the resort because you're on the other side of the inlet. You're around alongside the beach. I mean, of course, yellowfin tuna. Of course, you're not going to get the huge ones in Puerto Vallarta, stuff like that. You're not going to get the 300-400 pounders, But there's an occasional 200 pounders caught. Then
that's a big yellowfin.
Yeah, I know,
still,
of course.
Man.
Yeah, of course. But then the average is 40, 60 pounds, 80 pounders, 120s. But typically, I mean, there's so much there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just broomtail grouper. Snook. That's another thing that I want.
That's my next thing.
Yeah.
I was this last trip. I brought a bunch of Yozuri plugs down, and the mate's like, "Oh, that's the plug. That's the plug I use for snook." I'm like, "There's snook." He goes, "Oh yeah, that's the best plug here." So I said, "Here." I gave him the plug. I get home 2 days later. I get a text with a picture.
Oh, I got to show you this picture.
Giant snook,
really?
And I'm like,
yeah,
I am doing that next time.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing is that they're evolving. They don't stay stagnant. They're evolving. The fishery evolves, and they learn new things. I think the first couple of years we didn't even talk about roosterfish. We didn't talk about snook. We didn't talk about the other things that are available because, like you said, people were kind of programmed to, just the billfish. But I think what we're finding is there's so much more there to offer for the place. And I think what Ozzy has kind of discovered too with kind of our journey together is that it's not even the fish. And that's really the part that I try to tell people. Mm-hmm. It's not the fish. It's you go there and the fishing's incredible, but that's just one small part of it. And when you do that travel side of it and the culture and the history side of it, we saw this with our last hosted trip. We just had a hosted trip where I took 20 of my clients down. We arrived into Guatemala City at like noon. And we took them into Antigua, which is our old capital city. Mm-hmm. Cobblestone streets, rich in history, just a wonderful destination. And they had just as much fun there spending the afternoon in this city than they did fishing. So the next trip that we're going to do is we're going to spend the night there. There's a beautiful hotel, Costa Santo Domingo. We're going to spend the night there and let people experience more. So we can talk about the fishing. The fishing's phenomenal. But there's, I think we're coming to find is there's so much more.
Yeah, and the whole thing is because our first stop was at the House of Rum. Now that we're having rum, the House of Rum. And at first people were okay, then they started drinking. Then it went out to the street to just check out, knick-knack stores, this, that. And it got to the point that we're like, George was saying, all right, guys, it's time to go to, to the resort. And they're like, why are we leaving? Everybody wanted to be up to do something. It was like, Ozzy, I got to get back here, man. That was, of the 20 guys, that's basically all I'm saying.
Everybody said that.
Yeah. Why are we leaving?
And interesting enough, I had one client was kind of hesitant. He was hesitant about the security side of it and, whether it was safety. And I said, listen, whatever it takes to make you comfortable when you come on this trip, I'll do. I'll get you an armed guard to follow you the whole entire time. I'll fly you directly from Guatemala City to the coast if you want to take a small plane, so you don't have to take a car ride. All these things I offered him. And he finally said, no, I'll go with you guys. And that afternoon in Antigua, he's like, I can't believe I almost missed this. I can't believe I was not going to be a part of this. He's like, this is, I almost missed out on this part of it.
But this happens a lot. Mm-hmm. Of course, everybody I would say I was 70% that do call me and say, Ozzy, look, I'm thinking about making a trip down there. If they haven't, never, but when they hear through friends, it's one thing that they're like, okay, it's good to go, we're going.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't have friends or somebody that never actually been to Guatemala. The first question, is there, safety concern.
This is safe, yeah.
Yeah.
But it is funny, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Once they set foot in Guatemala, they're hooked for life, Dennis. They're hooked for life.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that, like, it's anywhere you go, there's pockets of bad places,
Of course.
right? Because you can come to the United States of America, and like, there's places I'm not going to send you if
Yep.
you're traveling from another country here. It's like, no, you got to just come here, and that's
Correct.
it.
Correct.
But I mean, so that's just how it goes sometimes, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I think that's the thing. A part of these hosted trips, I think, like you said, a lot of people want to travel these destinations. They have uncertainty. They have uncertainty of the country. They have uncertainty of, is there any hidden surprises that I'm not going to know about? So to be able to go with somebody like myself or somebody like Ozzy, to be able to go with somebody that's been there so many times and takes all the guesswork out of it,
Yeah.
that's what's good. So that's why it's easy to fill up these trips that we do. You get 20 guys together, twosomes, foursomes. There was a couple father and sons, that went
Nice.
down, and just a great time.
And it's gotten to the point already that, and this is going to be the second one, but when George was asking me, as Ozzy, I mean, do we need to do more a year? I mean, it's got to the point that one is not enough. So he now has to do twice a year a hosted trip because that is that much interest that people want to do that.
Yeah.
So you using those Missouri poppers for those roosters too?
We trolled this. I actually was trolling some Yozuris on the last one, and then they would come up and eat.
Yeah.
It's really cool is because we'll troll teasers for them, and they'll come up in the teasers, and you can bait and switch them. You can just
Right.
you can just drop
Really?
them
Yeah, is
On
it
the roosters?
and their roost and their fins are out of the water.
on.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
It's
insane.
Like catching
They're
a
just-
marlin?
Correct.
They come in on a squid chain.
Yes.
They come in on a squid chain
Stop.
and stay in on the squid chain until you bait them off with
Yeah.
a ballyhoo.
Really?
Yeah, it's
When I was fishing in Costa Rica for them, we would just take those poppers and just on a panga
Correct.
and just yank,
Correct.
and then your back just like
yeah.
dead in like 5 minutes.
No, we just
It's
troll along the
doing it.
beach
Yeah.
and they come up on the squid chain, and you just it's insane.
Dude, that's awesome.
And they're so cool when they come out because they have their fins out,
Yeah.
and that just it's completely out of the water. And
Yeah, you
they're
got to the
super
point.
aggressive.
We go offshore for a little while, catch a bunch of billfish,
Mhm.
come inshore. I mean, we just got to the spot and we just turned, and boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And it was like incredible, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, and the blue marlin,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, I had caught my first blue on the last trip.
That's awesome.
I've never caught a blue marlin. I caught my first blue marlin.
That's great.
And then the next day we had one come up and eat a teaser. He ate
He
the
just
teaser
ripped.
and just would not let the teaser go.
Mhm.
And then the third day, one of our other guys that came with us, he caught a big one too. So
Yeah.
lots
All right.
of blue marlin.
Yep.
Especially that time of the year. When were we? March,
May.
Lots of blue marlin too.
Yeah.
So it's pretty sick.
So now the resort, it's kind of humming.
Yes,
now,
it is.
right?
Yes,
so,
it is. And another cool thing is not just humming now. I mean, this is basically our slow season.
Mhm.
Mind you, of course, everybody was locked up for a while, and our slow season has been pretty busy, sort of say. And then now, because our peak season is from October all the way through latter part of May, June, early June is
Yeah.
our peak season. But 2022, I mean, the remainder of 2021 from October on to 2022, it's filling up pretty fast.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
nice.
stoked you're going to be there. I found out you're going to come. I think
Yes.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be
Like
sick.
I'm excited.
We gonna do a podcast?
He's coming too. I haven't told him yet. So this is when Justin finds out that he's coming. So
Nice.
yes.
Nice.
So he'll be there.
The man
Yeah.
behind the curtain pulling
Yeah,
the levers
right.
is going to be there.
So, yeah, he'll be there. So,
Yeah, it's a fun event. You guys can have a blast.
nice.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a ton of strange questions today. That's on me, right? But I do have a couple. One of them is short and sweet, and the second one's a little bit loaded. So, and George,
Oh, boy.
they're for you.
Good luck.
Oh,
right?
boy.
So this is our Papa's Pilar Strange Questions segment, right? Then they remind you never be a spectator, right? So I'm going to bring these up on my phone. So usually I'm more prepared for these, but I think we're going to do a good job today. So George, I got a question here from Rufus Wakeman.
Oh, God.
And
it's from Rufus.
So for those of you that don't know who Rufus Wakeman is, I don't know how you don't if you watch our show, because Rufus is, we talk about Rufus all the time. He's one of the greatest episodes we've ever had because he's just the best talker. But he wants to know who the best person in the world is to call if you ever get a gaff top sail catfish spine stuck in your finger. So he wants to know if you remember who that is.
It's not me.
It's not you?
Probably my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, my girlfriend's a nurse practitioner in the ER, so Rufus has had some injuries that she is taking care of. So I do have an ER background that I could probably fix him, but I think he's speaking of her and not me.
He says Heather's a great gal.
Yeah.
Is what he says. Yeah. She was thoroughly professional and yanked that damn spike out of my finger. So.
I get a call a lot. I get a lot of medical calls from friends that are like, oh.
You still get people calling you about all that stuff?
Yeah, they're like, well, they know about her, and they're like, is she working tonight? When that's the first question, I'm like, oh, God, here we go.
Maybe she works. So what if she's not working tonight? You going to wait till she's on shift next?
Well,
you got to go, right?
You got to make a call, and somebody doesn't want to wait in the waiting room. It's all who you know. It's anything in any business.
Yeah.
It's just like the fishing business. If you know somebody in the medical business, when you're sick, it always helps to know somebody, regardless of whatever it is.
That's true. My sister is, she's a veteran nurse. So she used to be CNO at Florida Medical, and then she's moved around, taking lesser roles, like in control of the whole floor. Like that's a lesser role to her, But anyway, so anytime the family needs anything, like we call her before 911 at all costs.
Exactly. Yeah, you need a doctor's appointment. You need to get in quicker. Whatever you need.
Or she'll just rush over to the house and just take care of you, and you're done. You don't have to go to the ER.
Exactly. Phone a friend.
Or what's the new one? The fast place to go. The
Medicenters.
Yeah. One of those.
Phone a friend.
So all right. So this next one is this long.
Whoa.
Jesus.
Right?
Wow.
And on our last episode was guest Chip Sheehan. Okay? And where I had texted you, I said, hey, you got a question for Chip? And you're like, well, it's not really a question, but this is what happened.
Yeah.
So I'm going to return the favor to Chip.
Oh, boy.
And he's going to say this. So I'm just going to read this to you.
Copy that.
Right? This is probably the best way to do this rather than me decipher the last one like I did the last one. So he says, when we caught a swordfish on his bay boat, he got really, really excited. So excited, he had to apologize to the camera. Okay, I got a little excited. Is that the most excited he's been on camera yet? If not, what is? That's just part one. Is that the most excited you've been on camera, do you think?
Probably.
Yeah.
I remember the cameraman
with
with his ear pods in, just like looking at me like, because I was screaming so loud in the microphone.
Yeah.
You got to understand.
Well, you're on a bay boat. Right?
You're in a bay boat. There's so much that goes in. Like, I tell people this all the time. Like, I was an emergency room nurse for 15 years, and people are like, oh, that's stressful. Well, that's not stressful. You drop dead in front of me, I'm going to figure it out. There's algorithms you follow. It's just, you do this. It's just kind of programmed. So there's steps you follow, and it's almost somewhat controlled chaos. When you're fishing, and especially when you're in the production world, there's so many variables that you can't control. Everything has to come together perfectly. Mm-hmm. And you try to be in control of as many of those variables as possible, but it just doesn't, and especially fishing out of a bay boat. We're fishing out of a bay boat 25 miles offshore, trying to catch a swordfish. And it's like, you shouldn't be doing this. The weather has to line up. The fish have to line. Everything has to line up perfectly. So when it all comes together, and I think what you saw there was an authentic release of just the stress of what goes into one episode. And I'm a normal guy. I try to get that across to everyone. I'm just a normal guy. It's a normal fisherman that just has the normal stresses of everyday life, and this is just a job that I'm doing, and I'm fortunate to do it. But the stress is there to get a fish, and then what you saw there was it was authentic, I
love it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he asked that question and that you reacted that way, because I know it's genuine because I know you, and I just know, like, you're a cool customer, man. You really are. You're just like, when it comes to George Gozdz, you're just like, You walk in with your shades today. Hey, what's up, guys? You know, like he's this cool dude, right? That's just how you are. It's how you're wired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to see you go off like that is a great thing. 'Cause I remember when we went out for our episode, it was like, wasn't the best day of fishing. I remember the night before we're driving around in your truck and you're just like, you got any good reports? I'm like, yeah, they're not good. You know, and it was like not going to be a good fishing day. But we made the best of it. We caught a couple kings in the morning, and we ended up going 2 for 3 for sales in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was
right?
awesome, and I was super stoked.
And then that was really like, because we weren't expecting to get any fish that day, and we ended up converting on a few fish, and it was great. I was excited. We were both like hooting and hollering. It was, you know, when you can bring that energy to the table, that's awesome. So
I think people see me a lot of times too, and they're like, "Oh, you look, you know, grumpy or this or that." It's just, I think it's just that stress that you carry around with you.
Yeah.
You want, you know, when you start to achieve a certain level of success, you want to maintain that, and it puts a little bit of pressure on you. And maybe I'm not the best with handling that pressure. I'm not quite sure, but it's just you want to do a good job. But no matter what happens, I want to be true to who I am. You know, one of the best bits of advice I ever got was from Jose Wahebi. I just met him at a Mercury event just prior to him dying, and I went up to him and I'm like, "You don't know me. I'm starting. I host a show for Florida Sportsman. You know, I want to be you." I idolize the guy, and I'm like, "Do you have any advice?"
It's a good one to idolize.
Yeah, and he's like, "Just be true to yourself. Be true." And that just kind of that stuck with me. It's who I am. We don't try to hide anything on our production. I think that's what people appreciate as well. You know, we'll show you the mess ups, we'll show you the screw ups, the bloopers and stuff, because it's fishing. I'm not perfect. I'm not the best. I'm far from the best fisherman. I mean, there's so many better fishermen than me. I don't think I'm the best fisherman. There's far better fishermen than me.
First of all, you're an amazing fisherman, and I appreciate you saying that, right? But you know, it's the humility is the more admirable aspect to that comment, I think. But you know,
well, you have to stay humble in no matter what you do. You know, in fishing, especially in this kind of industry, especially with the television. You know, I've been big into jiu-jitsu the last 5 years, and I think learning humility, that will teach you humility faster than anything else in this world. And I'm kind of glad I found that. It kind of helped center me as well. Yeah. That, humility is not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, authenticity goes a long way, especially in this world, right? I'm sure you can speak to that too, because, you know, we talked earlier about how this is just kind of like that unique bubble niche, right? And people can expose that and see that from a mile away.
Yep.
I think, especially in this world, because you're in a world of, when you talk about salty guys and girls, that they know what's genuine, what the real article is, and what's not, right? And it's important, I think, to be honest, right? And I try to be that as well, because listen, I know my thing is painting fish more than catching fish, and I'm not gonna try to disguise that in any other way, because I know the best of the best. I've fished with the best. I fish with the best of the best, but that doesn't necessarily translate to me, because I don't do it every single day, right? So I got to be honest about that, because I fish with guys that gets exposed real quick. You got to be honest with them. You be like, you got to, and they'll know. They know what you know and what you don't know. Yeah. You know, and there's no hiding that. But some people think there is hiding that, and there's not. Yeah. You know, then that's just the world that we operate in. And it's probably the same thing with what you're bringing to the table, right? With the authenticity of the resort, and bringing together that hospitality level and delivering the goods on the fish, and just bringing people down there and just like being like genuine, like, listen, we know what you want. This is what you're getting, you know, and we know what we're doing. We're bringing you the best quality boats at the best location, you know, and you're not trying to disguise it any other way.
Correct.
You know, so.
And I think, like you talk about, like our relationships, the three of us sitting here is that authenticity that you talk about. We're friends. You know, we've become friends through the industry and what we do. We're not here selling each other because we feel like we have to sell. I have to sell Pacific Fins, or I have to sell Dennis Friel artwork. It's not that. It's just you want. I think when you're comfortable in your situation and you're confident and you're secure, you have the confidence to build other people up, and that's I like that part of the industry. I like to surround myself 100%. With those that will help build me up, because what I found. I've done this. I've probably filmed for 12 years and a real-time Florida Sportsman for a bunch of years, and now Unfathomed. It's just you have to be true to your word, and the industry is small. Do what you say what you do. I'm going to have to sit across the table with you for a year from now if I promise you something and deliver it. And, just produce the highest quality content, be true to your word. And I think the rest is just help, really foster the relationships. Just be a man of your word, really.
That's it. Genuine. We're still in the middle of Chip's other part of his question.
More questions. Oh, Jesus.
All right. So, let me see. I'm just going to read this. This is all verbatim. So, this is not me. This is Chip.
God, Chip
just got to say that for the record.
I didn't think he was that
He
good
did type
typing.
a lot. I didn't think he didn't respond to me right away.
He was thinking about it, apparently.
He had
somebody work on it.
I texted him at like 9 in the morning, and then he didn't respond to me by like 1:04 here, and I said anything, and then all of a sudden the next thing I know, I get this back. So
that's because he was writing all that.
He was thinking, yeah. I know. It takes him a long time to write words, so who knows.
Damn good fisherman.
Yes. After getting back to the dock, we were cutting the fish up. We had a lady walk up and ask, "Can you guarantee us catching fish if we charter you?" He used one of the best one-liners I've ever heard, and I still use it to this day. What did he say to her? The answer? He said, "Ma'am, I am a guide, not a god. But we will do the best we can." And he put in parentheses, so classic. So then he says, when listening to Girlfriend material, the band, and drinking some fruity drinks he liked a lot, what in the world possessed him to go get the swordfish head and bill and dance around with it on his head? Was it a hot chick on the dance floor, too many fruity drinks, or was he just still excited?
Still excited. It's that, I tell you, it's just that, it's that relief. It's weeks of anticipation, preparation, and being rewarded with a successful trip.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't happen. All the chips don't fall in the right place all the time. And there's so often that you struggle to get a show done. You're on a limited budget. You have a limited amount of time. And like I said, there's so many variables you can't control. So when it does all come together, I mean, we've let loose a couple nights after production. That last night when you have everything that you needed, and you can just celebrate. And that was one of those nights. That was so much fun. I still remember that night. I was dancing around with the swordfish bill on my head at Two Georges. He doesn't even play Two Georges. I think it's the bar. That was
Two Georges.
Yeah. I mean, we pull into this place, and then we had the swordfish draped over the back of the boat, just draped over the back. We pull in, the place is packed and going off, and people are looking at us like, what in the world are these people doing? And it was just such a great feeling to be successful that day.
That's awesome.
And I think that was one of my first swords, and I had not caught a bunch. So.
Well, I mean, when you're out on the bay boat and you got to go out so deep, I mean, it's always a gamble, right?
Yeah.
So.
And that was the same thing that happened in Guatemala, because I know he really wanted that blue marlin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I understand you have your fans here and stuff like that, but let's go out at least a day together. Just go out looking for your blue. And when all, like he says, when it all came down, the stars aligned.
Oh my God, it was a perfect bite too. He came in on a teaser. It was like you couldn't have painted it any better. He comes in on a teaser, his bill's out of the water. They just get the pitch bait, pull it out of the cooler, and just slide back the pitch bait to him. The captain yanks the teaser away from him, and he just head and shoulders out of the water and just piles on it.
And it was just picture moment.
Come tight, and he just starts jumping. You're like, it's just the best feeling. That to me is the best feeling in the world.
Those blues are just so electric when they jumped. Like just the energy of the world just changes.
And that's what I love about what you do. It's so hard to replicate that sometimes unless you see it. Like I tell people that, like, to see a sailfish jump when he's lit up like he is. So often we see these pictures of people holding fish after they've been fought. They're so dark and they lose their color. But when they're lit up and just so vibrant with the colors, it's like, wow, man, you can't. It's hard to even paint that. How would you even find the colors to paint that?
Yeah, she's gonna kill me. But Neela, our new designer, just started 2 days ago, right? And I was telling her, I'm like, okay, so I'm getting her familiar with the business. I'm like, well, there's a podcast today. And she's like, oh, cool. She got all excited. And I'm like, what? She's like, well, who's coming on? And so I explained the two of you guys. And I showed her our episode that we did. And for me, it was so cool to go back and watch it again, because when it first came out, I watched it like every day for like 3 months straight. but I haven't watched it in a while, so I went back. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. It was such a great day and it's such a great time. But we talked a lot about that, about the beauty of the fish and the beauty of the catch, and just like how it makes you feel. But it is such an amazing experience to see a billfish go off. I mean, I can't think of a better thing on planet Earth than just being on the other end of that line, or even just being on the boat and just watching it is just like nothing compares. And the colors and just the energy, and it's like what did I say? I think it's like the pinnacle of action, right?
It's addictive.
Yeah, it's addictive, and that's why you keep coming back. That's why you keep going out, man.
Yep.
You're gonna need to bring a sketch paper or something to Guatemala and just do something.
Oh yeah,
evening.
we'll
know what I mean?
Because
to me, that's what I loved about our show together, is when you put pencil to paper and it was your view of what the day was, and that's really what we were trying to capture in that show. We're trying to tell that story of. To me, I'm just mesmerized by how you do what you do. Like, do you see that? I'm looking around at these pictures and like, when you start, is that what you see in your head, or does this start on the bill and then I work my?
It probably never ends up the way I originally see it, because you want to it's kind of like fishing itself, right? I always draw parallels to art and fishing, to where you can walk out with a plan, but you got to adapt. You know what I mean? So you might draw one thing another way, and you might have an idea in the middle of the experience, or you might start seeing it bending in a different way or going in a different way, and you just kind of go with it sometimes.
Is there a detail on that tarpon?
I know, that's what I'm looking at. Like, how many tarpon have you caught to know that that's what it looks like, and that's the way he bends, and that's the way he turns, or is that just your imagination?
That particular piece, that Doc Masters piece, is the significance of it to me. Right? There's probably two levels of significance to me. When I first left the day job and I had this painting going on in the background, it's like the first thing I did before I started any of my projects was like, I had this painting going on for months and months and months. I'm just going to sit and I'm going to finish it. So it really signifies like when we got rolling as a studio. That's why I'll always have that as a piece here. But the secondary thing is, I was the kind of kid that grew up on the other side of the tracks. I didn't grow up out east. When I went to Gibbons, which was a private school out here in East Fort Lauderdale, Bayview Drive, and everything like that, it was like going to Beverly Hills 90210, right? For a kid that was like from the other side of the tracks, I think that was the first time I actually saw a Porsche. It was like going to that school, right? So that was the experience. So, what I would do is I would draw for people. Like, those kids all had boats. I didn't have a boat. Right, so I would draw for people, like whatever we catch, I'll draw it for you, right? And then they take me fishing, and then that's how I kind of got started painting fish.
Oh wow,
I
didn't know that. Oh
yeah,
wow,
so then people would be like, oh yeah, bring Dennis, because I was drawing them fish.
Nice.
So, but growing up, that's how I would always see tarpon. You always see these big, beautiful, on the flats, glorious, majestic moments, right? So I grew up catching tarpon off a dock, right? That's where I would see them. I just do throw something in front of their face and then get tight. So that's the significance of it to me, Doc.
I'll take you fishing if you want to pay me something like that. Come on, let's do it. Yeah, that's.
It's interesting. One of the things that we've been doing on the show lately, I'm interested to hear this answer from both of you guys, because you guys are both accomplished anglers, is that I started asking people about the one that got away, and the first time I asked it, it was really cool. I asked George Poveromo and Capt. Harry Vernon, and they came back with some really cool stories. But I was telling Justin, and Justin's like, man, you got to ask everybody that, because it's a variable. It's like an interesting thing to hear from people. So, like, my one that got away was like this huge, massive mahi, but it was like on an unlikely day where I went out with a couple of buddies of mine who weren't really very good anglers, but they wanted me to take them fishing on his brand new 23 Robalo, like bow rider, right? And it was a rough day. I'm like, guys, this isn't going to last too long. But they were hellbound. I go, I'm like, we'll go. And I got the biggest mahi in my life. right? In like 5 minutes, right? Just dropping like a skirt. And then we lost it at the boat. And it was just like the most horrifying moment of my life. I'm like, must have been, I'm not exaggerating, must have been like a 65-pound mahi. It was like huge. Right? But anyway, what's your one that got away? Everyone's got one. What's that one fish that you wish he could really say, maybe you've caught enough fish to where you made up for it? I don't know.
No, I mean, there's just a lot of close calls. I think there's a lot of close calls, when we've been filming, and you have something, I can think back of when we were snook fishing at home. There's always more pressure on me when I fish my home waters.
Right.
And we were fishing at Roosevelt, which is a very common place for large snook.
Mm-hmm.
And
did they fix that bridge, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all back and working. But I had a fish that had to be in the 30-pound class range, roll up on a bait, and I saw it clear as day. And the camera didn't see it, but I saw it, and I knew what it was. And I thought, man, that would have just sent me to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
But thinking about you saying that, it's not really the one that got away. We just filmed an episode this last season where we did battle with a swordfish for 12 hours. And that was probably the most epic battle of my life. In the whole entire
12
time.
hours?
12 hours. 12 hours we were out of Isla Morada sword fishing.
It's on a filming
another
day?
another sword show this time out of a hybrid boat. But we went out sword fishing. It was our second day, so it was our final day of production, 9:30 in the morning. We come tight on the tip rod, and within 10 minutes he jumps, and we know he's a big fish.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know how big because we kind of caught out of the corner of our eye, but we know he's a big fish. At that time, the buoy rod goes down. Now we have two fish on. So we start to concentrate on one. We think, well, we'll get the buoy rod. We'll get this fish in. We'll get the buoy rod. Well, this fish just gets down and dirty, and just a couple hours into it, we get stretched out like 3,000, 4,000 revolutions on the buoy rod and end up parting the buoy rod off somehow. So now we're focused on this one fish, and it's the final day of production. I have to get this fish. 12:30 comes up, and we get him close to the surface. I had one of my cameramen who was a really good free diver. He goes over the side, which is crazy enough to swim with them because there's a lot of fish. People don't realize there's a lot of fish you can swim with. Swordfish is not one of the fish you want to swim with. And if
They'll get you.
They will come after you.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. So
yeah.
Our plan was
and there might be a lurker.
Yeah. And our plan was to keep him outside of the fish and me kind of tension on the fish to try to keep, our risk factors down. But he went in and fish got spooked, and he came up and he said, I got to look at it. It's a good fish. He said, I think it's foul hooked. I'm like, what? Well, long and short of it, now this fish goes down to 400 feet, and I can't turn him. No matter what I did, I couldn't turn him. Couldn't turn him.
12 hours and foul hooked makes a lot of sense now.
Foul hooked in the dorsal. Directly in the dorsal.
Really?
In the hardest part of his body. Could never turn him. Hours and hours. And you put a certain amount of pressure on him, but you don't want to break him off because you've invested so much time. This is my last day. I have to get this fish. And so many times in your mind, you're just like, what if I lose this fish right now? And that's all I thought about for 12 hours is if I lose this fish right now, if I lose this fish. 7 o'clock at night, he comes up. We get him close, spinning around the boat. Finally, 8 o'clock, we get a dart shot on him, and he shoots back down to 2,000 feet of water.
Come on.
Shot straight, and with 400 feet of rope and a
no,
buoy.
I'm tired.
Now he pulls the buoy down to 2,000 feet.
Oh.
And now at this point, we have drifted 35 miles. The fish is down on the bottom, and it's dark now. So I'm not going to. If he comes up, I can't even see the buoy. Long and short of it, it was an hour and a half to pull him off the bottom. He had died down on the bottom. The harpoon went through his back and just kind of tore him, and he must have just dove down to the bottom at his last will and died on the bottom foot by foot. We had to just pretty much hand crank him back up, bring him back to the surface, and it was like 9:30 at
Dead
night.
weight.
We landed him. He was, I think, like 250 pounds. It was a good fish, but it wasn't.
Yeah, but
We thought it was like a nickel. You're like, oh, this is this giant fish. You're seeing it jumping away, but that every second of that battle, I thought that something's going to break, something's going to give, and I'm just going to jump off this boat and kill myself. That's all I kept thinking.
Right in the dorsal. Huh?
Oh yeah, right in the dorsal. But it was probably one of the best places to hook him. He wasn't going to pull.
Yeah. This is an Isla Morada?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where'd you end up?
God, I don't even know where I was out front of it. It was like a 35-mile run down back.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I mean, I had a sat. I brought my sat phone, And I just called one buddy. I'm like, listen, call everybody you know that's going to be looking for me and tell them that I'm okay.
Yeah.
That, we're fighting a fish. And it was pretty insane.
Yeah, we went out for a swordfish tournament when he was at Swordfish Mayhem last year's fourth Swordfish Mayhem. But on Harris's 48 Intrepid and like 8 guys. So it's like all day, like swordfishing, because he didn't want to be bored all day.
Right.
So it's just like looking at the tip, And then, but we ended up like not catching a sword that day, but but he brought all his like buddies on. They're all
and it's a drug fest at the end.
So we're like, oh, let's just stay out and keep fishing after line's out. Well, we're out there and no one can call us because we're out of cell range. So, like, the whole tournament's like, these guys haven't come in yet.
God.
So when we start getting in the range, finally, like, all our phones start blowing up. Like,
right here. Why you need one of these?
Yeah. So, segue into one of these. So, Justin, do you want to deliver the message on, because you're probably the one that best can explain all the details of this.
Cool thing about ACR typically has always been kind of the proverbial stuff has hit the fan, and so we've carried these kind of devices over here. The device of last resort, grave danger, imminent danger, risk of loss of life. But the new thing that we've got here is the bivy, and what's really cool about it is that it just tethers with your phone. So anywhere you are in the world, you can text. You can't call yet, but it uses the Iridium satellite network to connect with your phone. So basically you can text, tell everybody, if you don't have that sat phone, you could tell them, hey, I'm fighting this monster fish for 12 hours. Everything's okay. It's got one button check-in. It's got pretty cool one button SOS as well. It's a little bit different than the other products that ACR makes, but it's pretty cool that you can communicate now. Different type of product though. It's if you want to be in touch with folks, but the other one is, the stuff has hit the fan, but this is cool to have now too. It is route tracking. You can create new maps, blaze a trail. It's crowdsource maps too. So if, like when I take Cooper out to the Everglades, we hike and stuff, I can see where other people's routes are and things like that. So it's pretty cool, man. Yeah,
nice. So ACR Science of Survival. So that's what everybody needs in their life to keep their life.
I'm telling you, and we talked about this earlier. If there's one thing on the boat that you could have for a sense of security is, something like a personal locating beacon or the EPIRB. I mean, just to have that every time we go out, there's one on my boat at all times, and I feel so much more confident taking my family out and making those long runs, whatever the run is, because you never know. You could be a mile offshore and bad things happen. But there's always one on the boat, or it's just it's an insurance policy. You say whatever it is, whatever it costs. If something bad were to happen, you'd pay quadruple whatever that was. So it's better now just to invest in something like that. And when the crap hits the fan, like you said, you just one push of a button, somebody's coming to rescue you.
I always tell people 1 mile is a long way to swim, too.
Yeah. 1 mile is a really long way.
Anyone who's watched The Qualified Captain understands. There's a high pace for these things. So.
Yeah.
Ozzy, what's your one that got away?
Just like you.
Yeah?
I've been all over the world fishing. I only need one billfish species to do the Royal Slam, and that's a spearfish. Mahi. Living in South Florida, fishing in Guatemala, fishing all over the place. And this happened a few years back, actually at the Guatemala Invitational, that, of course, everybody's, want to catch that day 50, 60 sailfish. But we also have, our tuna category, dorado category. And sure enough, Doug from King Sailfish Mounts, he hooked up to a 50-pounder right before that happened to me. And everybody was high-fiving, my God, we're going to, win that category with a 50-pound bull. And sure enough, maybe an hour later, my line goes off. I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be a sailfish, and it just starts ripping and ripping and ripping. And sure enough, as soon as I jumped, that's when I actually started to feel, oh my God, getting a little nervous because I really didn't want to lose that fish. It was going to be my biggest mahi ever. And reeling it in, the boat's backing out, reeling it in, and all of a sudden it just started sounding. And back and forth and back and forth. And everybody, all the guys, of course, because you know how it is in the tournament. Everybody, come on, hurry up, Ozzy. Cut the line.
You
don't
kept making runs?
And it's, correct. They started making all these runs. And I could just see him there little by little coming up. He just went sideways, of course, and then just started, swimming and just little by little going up the water column. And sure enough, all of a sudden, it just let go. The hook broke on him. And I'm like, you son of a, what? And until this day, And of course, Doug, having Doug from King Selfish Mount on the boat, he's like, "Don't worry about it, Ozzy. I'll mount one of these days." You know.
Yeah.
We got a replica for you.
Yeah,
back
correct.
Yeah.
But of all the fish, because
Participation trophy.
I could say that we do live the dream. You know, I mean, look at our jobs. You know, but that is one fish, and I've seen people catch 40, 50 pounds in front of me all the time. 60 pounders, this, that, and sure enough, this was a little bigger than Doug's, and not meant to be. Not that day.
Yeah.
Some other day, but
That's what keeps you coming back, though.
Yes.
If you caught every one, there would be no fishing. It wouldn't be.
That is what keeps
it's
you
just,
coming back, right?
just, you got to lose one every now and then. It keeps you humble and keeps you coming back.
And it educates you too. 'Cause
Yeah.
I always say you learn more from the ones you miss than the ones you catch.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's so much in life. The
Yeah.
failures are
Yeah.
so much more valuable than the successes.
it's like I always love making this trip, and that's going to Prince Edward Island for giant bluefin tuna.
Yeah.
My biggest so far is 900 pounds on sitting and 850 stand up that I would never do again. I would never do that again.
Yeah.
But I don't want to catch my 1,000 pounder. That's my grandeur. I want to catch it, and hopefully it'll happen this year or the next, whatever. But yeah, it's an addiction. I mean, it's just sometimes people come, "Oh, you're a fishing freak." No, it's not that. I mean, even if I'm in the bathtub, I want to fish. That's what happens. I'm passionate for this sport. That's why I'm happy when I see George catching his blue marlin in front of me, going to Guatemala, or seeing clients for that matter. It's gotten to a point already that I may fish a little bit with the clients, but the excitement of seeing those people that actually caught their fish for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
How far
No,
out in
doesn't.
PEI do you got to go to run for tuna?
4 miles, 5 miles, sometimes.
Yeah, it's not that. Yeah.
Sometimes
Stupid.
sometimes maybe 10 miles at most, depending where
Maybe.
they're at.
Maybe.
But yeah, I mean, you could literally, you're hand feeding these things. The same thing you
Yeah.
do to tarpon, you're doing that to these fish. So basically, you have your line in your hand, your leader, with your mackerel, and you're waiting. Oh no, not that one. Oh no, not that one. Oh, how about this one?
Wow.
Boom. It's
I know
incredible.
Andy's trying to get me to go up there. I think he's up there now, Moyes. He's the freaking king. But we were supposed to go last year. COVID happened. Didn't happen. That trip was like set.
Yeah.
And now he's like, well, here we are. It's September, October again. And so
That's when you want to be there, between the
I know.
September October time frame.
I think he's not up there yet, but he'll be up there in like a couple of weeks, and he'll be there for the whole season. So he's trying to get me to go up there. So I don't know if I can make it. That'd be great.
Oh, that's
Do you
But
know
we'll
why
see.
I love that one that got away question so much is because when they tell the story, first off, fishermen, we love stories, and we're always telling stories to each other. But it's while you're telling the story, you're picturing in your mind what that sword's doing. You're picturing in your mind how that mahi, how that came off. That's been the same since we were little kids. When you're
Mhm.
imagining, okay, if I put this bait out there, you're not just looking at the surface of the water. You're thinking about what is that bait doing under the water, what are the fish doing, and you're imagining the whole time. That's why it's great as a little kid and great as an adult. And that's what I also think why the art. That's why I was drawn to your art originally, was because that's what I'm picturing. What's happening under the water. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
you're bringing that to life. Before there were GoPros and before there were underwater mounts and stuff like that. I mean, you're bringing to life our imagination of what's happening under the water.
To play off that too, and I think therein lies the difference between photography, which is an art in its own right, and doing more realistic painting. And some people would say, "Oh, why do you want to strive for real or whatever?" Or why don't you just go the opposite way? And sometimes I do. You know what I mean? I like to have fun and do that. But to the point that you just made, you want to really kind of also capture how it feels, right? With that attitude. It's not just about the actual fish and what it looks like. You could take a picture to show that, but there's a different attitude behind a painting when you're trying to accentuate the energy of feeling and emotion
Dynamism.
and telling a story, right? And you always want to kind of tell the story of the event. I have an idea in my head. It's funny, I just wrote this down today about a new painting that I want to start. I don't even know if I should talk about this yet.
But
Go ahead.
You talk about the bubbles coming off the skin, the way that the bubbles and the just
Yeah.
in the skirt over there or off of the bill here, of the
Yeah.
billfish. It's amazing.
But you know what, Dennis? I mean, if you look at your art, it's realistic, and it's actually how it, portrays how it actually happens.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
And I would
mean-
say to you, bring a mask and fins to
Yeah.
Guatemala because there's so many opportunities that that we've gotten in the water with fish. Just to see that's a unique opportunity, and you get so many opportunities that you can take a couple moments, extra moments, and get in the water and just and see how those fish are reacting. And when one comes up, so often there's a partner with them that may not feed, but be swimming alongside them. And just, I think that might be, inspiration for you as well.
Yeah. 100%.
When you get that lonesome, you're like, okay, one single fish. No, if you get in the water, you'll see that there's 3 or 4 hanging out with them.
Well, just to give you a little leak on the idea that it's a yellowfin tuna piece with birds involved, and I'm going to name the painting Fiesta. So, and it comes from actually it's a chop of a portion of The Sun Also Rises from Hemingway. I read that today actually, and it gave me the idea for this painting. Reading a Hemingway quote gave me an idea for a tuna painting. But
I think your next one, since you talk about Hemingway, talking about Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway said the king of all fish was a bluefin tuna. Once you experience that, you'll see why.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no better tackle tester than that monster. I mean, it's just amazing.
Andy wrote a really good piece. I don't know why I'm chewing ice on a podcast, but I am. Andy wrote a really good piece in this last issue of Marlin Magazine on the PEI fishery. And it's really good. I would really highly suggest everyone go read it because it gives a little history behind the fishery, the regulations, and how they've changed over the years, and how it's really, really coming back.
Yep.
Lately. So.
Well, keep in mind that everything is going upwards because since I deal a lot with Tony McDonald, up there in Prince Edward Island, of course, he has his fleet is 7 boats, 45-foot hustlers, I believe it are, or I forgot what it's called. Well, they do lobster, scallop, do a bunch of other things, right? And of course, tuna is the little bit season because you're talking about July, August, September, October-ish, so to say.
Small window.
And yeah, it's just amazing how they have seen other species of fish go north. I guess the water is getting a little warmer and stuff like that, and they have seen that, And he's telling me, "Hey, Ozzy, I've gotten to the point that I've seen already dolphin out here." I'm like, "Wow, incredible!" So maybe that's why it's getting better for them because but it's just an incredible fishery up there. I mean,
well, he goes into it a little bit in the article about how there was a gap of time where nobody was catching them anymore. And this is even after the regulations were in place. And we're like, well, they left. They're gone. They're not here anymore. Maybe they overfished it. There were a lot of guesses and why and what. And Andy's theory, which, to be honest with you, I trust Andy's theory more than anybody's theory in the world because the guy's, he's one of the best fishermen on the planet, and he's the guy that's there all the time, every day for the season. So he knows, what's going on. And the guy thinks like a fish. So I would really trust that over science any day.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking science because whatever, but so he kind of just thinks that they just got smart. And the fishermen weren't smart enough because they just kept trolling the same areas, right? You see how they are when the net boats come out.
Yep.
They all come running.
Exactly.
Right? They all come running. And it's just like, why? It's just 'cause they know.
Yeah, they hang
They're not
around all the
stupid.
herring boats and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
they're not
it's
stupid.
incredible.
Yeah, learned behavior.
Yeah.
Food motivated,
Yeah, absolutely. So,
like me.
the what?
Food motivated, like me.
Yeah, so, PEI, got to get up there.
Yep.
Just like you got to get to Guatemala.
Absolutely.
Well, you're getting there, so you're.
Yeah.
And so are you, so you're score.
Count me
there.
in.
So, regarding Pacific fins, right? There's a volcano there,
Yes.
right? There's
Quite a few.
There's quite a few. There's the town there. There's the coffee makers there, right?
Yep.
A bunch of stuff to do.
Yes.
It's great for families,
Yes.
right? So, I'm telling, Liz, I'm like, I'm going to Guatemala. She's like, well, what about our trip? I'm like, well, why don't you come, right? And then, so we'll see. I don't know. But you're bringing the family there. You already brought the family there.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring them on the tail end of my hosted trip. I'm gonna fly the kids out after
Mhm.
I'm gonna get the day the guests leave. I'm gonna have them come in and film.
Did you bring Heather there already?
Yeah, she filmed an episode there. She went to Tikal with me
Nice.
and fished there, and it's one of those places. And that's and I think for years they've catered to the hardcore fishermen, and there's so much more for the family to offer. You know what I mean? I mean, I go there and even on the hosted trips, 3 days of fishing, I don't need to fish 3 days.
And wait until they actually experience Las Lagunas.
Yeah.
What's Las Lagunas?
There's another resort in next to Tikal.
Okay.
Oh God, it's just another level. I mean, there's a resort. Yeah, I mean, it's so much to it that we went to a resort on this lake and stayed to go to Tikal. It's near Tikal where the Mayan ruins are, and it's just
like you're like somewhere close to like Fiji on a freshwater.
There's howler monkeys.
Really?
Yeah, there's howler monkeys in the trees when you walk outside your door, and you feel like you're in a zoo. And the funny thing too is I tell people, like, you go to the volcano and you start to climb up this volcano. Well, there's no guardrail there. There's no somebody stopping you like at Disney and saying, "Don't go anymore."
Yeah.
Like, you could go as far as you want. You want to go to the top where it's boiling out. Good luck. There's nobody
Really?
to stop you. Yeah. I mean, if you're in Tikal and you're climbing the Mayan ruins, you're climbing right up a pyramid. You're
Those
like,
American lawyers wouldn't allow that.
yeah, and that's how I kept saying, like, there's no way you could ever do this in America. There's no way. There's the liability here, the liability that.
And it's gotten to the point that before it was the first thing is when you climb these volcanoes, you go and you roast marshmallows.
Mm-hmm. Really?
But it gets better now. So I just heard not so long ago.
With a really long stick?
No, you're actually doing it right there in front of you. So the other thing is I just heard that now they're actually baking pizzas there too.
Come on.
What? So now you have the guys that take you, the tour guides, whatever.
Oh, you haven't lived till you've eaten a Guatemalan
Imagine
volcano
that.
baked pizza.
That's right. Then my next trip to Pacaya, one of these, I got to bake a pizza.
Volcano
coming from
fire.
Florida too, right? You come from
Yeah.
I grew up in Florida. It's flat. There's no mountains. So when you get there and there's these giant volcanoes and you can hear, like, the lava is pouring out and you hear the rocks tumbling down. You're that close where you can see the rocks tumbling down.
Right.
The lava pouring out. It's just, you're like, whoa. And one of the volcanoes several years ago, Fuego, erupted and unfortunately killed like 1,000 people. Well, it came right through a town. And when I tell you that it created crevasses that looked like the biggest flow of water came through this area, but it was lava flowing down, they said, at 200 miles an hour. And it just gouged the land. Half the mountain fell off and just gouged through this, very affluent golf course in this neighborhood and just killed all of these people. So this is how active these things are. And Fuego, you drive by, it's constantly puffing. I mean, you can just see it sit there puff and puff and puff.
I believe,
How
I could be wrong,
was that?
32 volcanoes, I believe it is, or 33 volcanoes in Guatemala, and 3 active.
And when did Fuego erupt?
You did your show around that, so what was the first
Probably 2
season?
years. Yeah.
It was right around when you recorded?
I think it was 2 years prior to me being there. So
Yeah.
it was probably about 5 years ago it erupted. Yeah. And they were still rebuilding the bridges over the crevasses that were created. They were creating bridges over how it changed.
And we're not
the
talking about a
landscape.
small crevice. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about, deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Pacific Fins is not in a volcano.
No.
No,
You're
no.
in the coast.
Just want to make that clear.
No, you're in
to
the coast.
those-
You don't have to.
No, yeah.
Plus, the cool thing about it
Listening
is
and watching at home.
when you're fighting fish, you're actually in the background. You get the volcanoes behind you. So imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool too when you go out and you say to the captain, "Well, what do you think it's going to be like out there today?" Well, they have a saying that if you can see the volcanoes,
It's going to be a little choppy.
choppier day, and if you can't see the volcanoes, then
It's
it's
going to
calm.
be calm.
Because of the
Because the underground.
No, what happens is since they do a lot of sugar cane there, so sometimes when they're burning the sugar cane, the way the wind is, if the wind is calm, all that smoke and everything else just covers
Gotcha.
the volcanoes.
So when they're super clear, it's a little rougher offshore. When you can't see them, then it's a very calm day. And most times they're not.
Yeah,
The vast majority of the times it's calm when you go out there.
Yeah, because Guatemala is pretty much
95% of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mostly calm when you
Yep.
go. Yeah.
Correct.
Wow. I can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
How many people do we have going for this?
It's quite a few. I mean,
So- Take me through the tournament, right? So Billfish, right?
yes.
Tournament, and give me all the details here. Like, can people enter still, or is it
Yes,
like locked
yes.
down? I mean,
So what happens is we have now 3 resorts that we're actually using. So Pacific Fins filled, then we're filling up another resort, and then another resort. So, but regardless, everything is happening at Pacific Fins. So it's not like, well, I understand you wanted to stay in Pacific Fins, but regardless, you're gonna have fun because the majority of the time the only time that's sleeping, you're gonna be sleeping, whether it's a Pacific Fins or somewhere else. That's the only time you're gonna be doing it.
Right.
Partying and hanging out and having a great time with everybody else is gonna be at Pacific Fins. And then of course we'll be fishing 3 days, lodging 4 nights. You got the foods. We have already. I already had sent out a newsletter. I have this guy named Matt Moore, famous chef, that's going to be out there. He's always in Fox and CBS and different networks, and he's done a lot. And then of course, George Gozdz, Mr. Celebrity too. He'll be there
Far
too.
from the celebrity.
And then of course we have some other high-profile fishing guys. And then of course I'm working on other celebrities that might also go over there too.
Yeah, cool.
All in all, it's just great time. Everybody network and interacting with people you never met before. I couldn't tell you how many people have actually become friends from meeting that person the first time there. And also do business with that person. So it's not a pressure tournament, so to say, because you're gonna have like all these other tournaments and millions of dollars on the line. But it gets competitive because that's our nature. It gets competitive, but it's also very fun. So that's, you get but of course last year we made it exciting, and we even did a Calcutta that everybody loved to get into. Some people made some money and some people of course didn't, but it's just overall it is the best time to be there because that's during our peak season. Great weather, great fishing, and I tell everybody, just don't be last, because sooner than later, and it will be soon, I'm going to have to say it's sold out, because it will be sold out.
Where are the dates?
December 9 through the 13th.
9 through 13th.
Yeah, you come in the 9th, then you fish 10, 11, 12, out the 13th. And every
Nice.
day is always you're cooking, eating. I mean, you're always having a great time.
Yeah, you'd be treated like
Yeah,
a king
well,
the
of
whole
course.
time you're there.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. Especially if George is there. We'll see to it.
Well, I'll be there in November as well. I have a guided hosted trip that we're doing in November. I think it's November 6th. I have a guided trip that will bring 20 clients. We still have a couple spots open for that. Very similar. We fly direct from Miami to Guatemala City.
It's like a 2-hour flight?
2-hour flight,
Right.
very simple, very easy. We get there, we land. We're probably going to take the bus ride to the coast, but on the way, I think we're going to stop at the Volcanoes on the way.
Cool.
Check those out. Then we're going to have 3 full days of fishing, 4 nights at the resort, and then the final day, we're going to come back and we're going to spend that night in Antigua that we talked about. Stay at Casa Santo Domingo, spend a day in Antigua, and then head back to Miami on the final day. So that's an
Nice.
available trip as well, and that's all inclusive, and I'll be on that one. Kind of chaperoning, guiding,
Sweet.
concierging.
Yeah, that's something you're going to have to look for in the future.
Yeah.
For you. Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
100%.
I like your Instagram, swimming with the locals.
Oh,
That's
correct.
great. That's great.
Because that's what, it started to get that way, how people, they were like, okay, can we get in the water with them? Sure.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
got to the point that then it was not just selfish, then everybody wants to get in with the marlin and stuff like that. The marlin, I try
a
not
little
to,
sketchy.
yeah. So, because no matter what, you're trying to revive them, it's
Right.
just, I rather, but yeah, I mean, it's just, people just love doing that.
Yeah.
People just love doing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's definitely one of those destinations that you said, like you spoke of. You go once, and it's not going to be your.
Oh, no, you're hooked. You understand.
You're going to go back.
Again.
You're just going to go back. I mean, I just got back from Panama. I love Panama. The fishing's absolutely incredible in Panama. The yellowfin fishery was insane. But I don't think it's nearly as easy to get to as
Right.
Guatemala. I don't think they're.
And you know what? George just brought up a good point. More than ever, I've had people that just, when they want to go on vacation, they just want to get there. They just don't want the hassle, especially, people are just like, okay, then I have to jump hoops through here, then I have to do this, I have to do that. Especially during these COVID times. People are just sick and tired of it.
There's a lot of uncertainty, and to
Yeah.
think you're going to get to an area and get stuck in an area, and I felt that a little bit in Panama, but in Guatemala I've never felt that. Like I said, you fly direct in, you land. They're there to greet you. The bus is there. It's very simple to get in and get out of, and
That stuff matters.
Oh, it's huge.
I actually just heard a story because with the Olympics going on, I just heard a story about how these media guys, they got to fly however long it takes to get to Japan, 20 hours or whatever it is. But when they get there, they process for like 5 hours because they're so COVID crazy that you got to fill out all this paperwork, and they keep you like in quarantine and like the whole thing, and just getting through that, and all that matters with travel. Like really, you don't want to come home and like be stuck in a custom line for hours. You know?
And again, we have always, since day one, since everything's happened, and of course, everybody had to put that reset button.
Yeah.
That okay, what are we going to do different this year, this season? And COVID has changed everything around. I mean, now, of course, all our guys are vaccinated. They still wear their buffs. They still wear their protective gear. So and also a lot of clients were beginning. Everybody's almost vaccinated. And of course, the United States now wants anybody, whether it's Guatemala or anywhere around the world, in order to get back into the country, you got to get tested.
Right.
You got to have a negative COVID test, and we do that right at the resort. So
at the resort.
So you don't have to go down somewhere for a clinic or with this and that. We do it there. So people are seeing that as like, oh my God, it's great. Whether you come back from fishing, you do the test, or you do a breakfast in the morning or whatever, and just the less you have the clients do, the better, because they're there for vacation. You don't want to bother nobody.
That's why you're going.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right?
And a 2-hour direct flight, it's like
That's nothing.
200.
Yeah. No, and it gets better because before, when you get to Guatemala City, then it's like, okay, you have that whatever hour and something drive or 2 hours, but now our guess is like, Ozzy, how do we get to that private plane of yours? So now they're actually taking the private plane, and it's like 12, 15 minutes from the city right next to the resort.
It's really cool. I mean, we had a lot. It was funny because we had not planned on doing that on the last trip that I did with all my clients. The final day, I asked for a show of hands at dinner. I said, hey, listen, we have the opportunity to get some planes to fly back rather than a van ride. Who wants to take the planes back, private planes back? And every hand went up. Yeah. So within, a couple hours, we had all the planes lined up the next morning to take everybody, to the airport by small commuter plane. And they love that. It's just it's part of the adventure. I think all of us seek an adventure.
Right.
And a trip like this is an adventure. It's just like fishing. It's just like whatever we do. It's just this adventure that's deep, innate inside of us. And trips like this, I just think help fulfill that. And every little bit that you add to it, whether it's climbing a mountain or going to Tikal or jumping on a little plane to go to the coast, it's just another part of the adventure. Walking around a new town and a new street and meeting new people. It's just an adventure, and that's the cool part about it is that just
like I've always tell everybody when they call me and they have a long conversation with me, because of course they ask you so many questions, and I've always said talk has always been cheap. Once you experience it, like I said, you're hooked. You're hooked for that. You're not going anywhere else.
Well, this all sounds horrible, gentlemen. So
yeah. Don't let the wife hear it.
Sounds absolutely terrible.
I'm looking forward to it, like greatly. Right. For those of you guys listening and watching in, how can they contact you to get involved?
They can call us at 888-431-5556 or just go to the website at pacificfinsresort.com, and it has all the information you need there.
Perfect. And you want to register for the tournament, you can do that there
Absolutely.
as well.
Yes. And sooner. I would say soon. Yes.
All right.
Or the hosted trip, they can reach out to Ozzy and get you the information.
And then you have to go with George.
All right.
Yes, in
so
November.
Through Ozzy.
Or they can reach out to me either way.
Correct.
I started
way.
posting some stuff socially as well, some information for my trip as well.
Right. And you're at Captain George Gozdz, right?
Yep.
And you're at Pacific Fins.
Yeah, correct.
Right. And then so that if you just want to do it through social media, Instagram message, you could do that as well.
Yep.
All right. So no matter how you need to get in touch with them, they will get in touch with you back.
Absolutely.
So no problem there. So, gentlemen, I thank you greatly for
Thank you
coming
for having
in
us.
to
Yeah,
visit
thank
me
you for having us.
today.
Yes, correct.
Right. And it's always good to see you. I'm sure we'll want to hang out at the bar for a minute after and, shoot the shite for a little bit. And
enjoy some of this Pilar.
Yep. Absolutely.
Thanks again, bro.
So, cool. Awesome. We good? We good?
Good.
All right. So, I just want to remind everyone that if they're in the market for a new truck, right, to give our friends Joey Accardi, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, a call. Price selection service. You can't beat it. And if you're thirsty, which a lot of times you might be thirsty, Wrestle up some Papa's Pilar rum to remind you never to be a spectator. And if you're hungry, go see our friends at Papa's Raw Bar right down the street. You can order something on the Connected by Water sushi menu. Yep, you heard that right.
Wow.
We got a lot of our friends have rolls named after them locally in the area. You got the OCD roll, you got the Jumbolicious roll, you got the Takizi roll, of course, and you got the Surreal roll. And so a lot of our buddies around here, they all got a roll.
You have to get one over there.
Yeah.
We got to get on over to Papa's, and we'll talk about getting a roll on the menu there. And if you are on a boat and you have left land and you do not have one of the fine products that we mentioned today from ACR on your boat, then you need to turn around and go back to land and grab one, then put it on your boat, and then head back out because you need it. It's a necessity. Yeah. It's not an option.
Yeah, if you're taking your family out there, it's the smallest investment that you can make. This is the safest thing. You don't ever, in hindsight, want to look back and think that you didn't do what was needed to protect your family. It's just a small investment to ensure that everybody's going to get home safe. I mean, I'm on the water more than most, and things go bad in a hurry. When they go bad in a hurry, it's nice to have something like that that's going to ensure that you get home and get your family home.
Yeah, you may not have enough time to think through it. That's for sure.
Yep.
I want to give a shout out to a couple of Ohanas that we are involved with Maui Jim, the best sunglass company in the world, hands down, no doubt about it. One of the best companies to be involved with, and also Olokai. So we love our footwear from Olokai, and they are just a beautiful, beautiful company to work with.
Yeah, great partners.
Shout out to Pop Amigos, and I'm going to give a shout out to CV Boats because we designed the Friel collection over there in their entire line of apparel, and you can purchase that at shop.cvboats.com. So, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you
for giving me your time today and traveling to the new studio to see us. So,
thanks for having us.
Your ego, it's not your amigo. Always do your best, and at the end of the day, just let God do the rest, and no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, don't ever forget that we are all connected by water.
By water.
Thank you.